Now,
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
Vince Coglianese.
Hey, good afternoon to you. It is 5:06 News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up, John Lott talks to us about the latest crime data in the country. Perhaps you've noticed things aren't going well. He's got some more facts to back that up. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. My attention is being drawn to the White House press briefing today. Apparently there was one. Karine was up there. And rather than help make things better in Springfield, Ohio, the Biden-Harris administration has decided to politicize it and attack the people there and treat them like they're just being ridiculous. How dare you? How dare you? Bunch of racists for questioning why 20,000 foreign nationals were just dropped on your town. Here is, I think, a relevant exchange. I don't know. I wish I knew who the reporter was who was asking this, but I guess Karine had said something today about being a proud Haitian American. So take a listen to this.
A personal question, actually, Karine, because I was listening to you this morning, at noon, and you refer to yourself as a proud Haitian American.
Yeah. That's not new.
That's not new.
No.
But do you take this personally when the community is a target of attack as it is at the moment in Springfield?
The target of attack? What kind of dumb question is that? It's unless you're talking about the Biden-Harris administration attacking Springfield.
I take it personally when any community, any vulnerable community is attacked. Not just a community that I belong to, and proudly.
You don't belong to Springfield, Ohio.
Belong to, but any community, any vulnerable community that is attacked, wrongfully so, in a hateful way. One of the things that I'm proud about in being part of this administration is that we condemn that type of stuff. We condemn that type of hateful language. That's what I'm going to continue to do.
What kind of hateful language is she talking about? What in the world is she even talking about?
And I get to do that on behalf of President Biden, who also condemns that type of hateful rhetoric, as you have heard him today and many times before, when a vulnerable community is attacked. That's not what national leaders should be. Political leaders should not be attacking vulnerable communities. That's not who we should be. And if they're going to fall for conspiracy theories online, maybe they shouldn't be our leaders.
So is it not 20,000? How many is it, Karine?
Maybe they shouldn't be.
Wasn't there not an 11-year-old boy and 20 others injured in a bus accident that as a result of one of the Haitian foreign nationals who were put there without a driver's license driving a Honda Odyssey into the bus and killing that child?
It is on all of us. It doesn't matter if you're Haitian American, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish American, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim American. All of us should come together. When we hear that type of hateful rhetoric, we should come together and have each other's backs and call it out, because it's not okay. It is dangerous. It is dangerous.
What?
It puts people's lives at risk.
To point out that you're destroying our country.
And this president is going to continue to stand up and speak against it.
Are there any
Go ahead, Patsy.
Thank you, Karine. One last try.
It's not funny. I know you want to make. Wait a minute.
Now, I think this is James Rosen. If I believe that's James Rosen's voice, and I'm not sure what he's asking explicitly. I think he mentioned vulnerable communities. Karine begins accusing him of trying to tell a joke or something.
Hold on. Hold on. Wait. Hold on. It's not funny. Wait. No. It is not. Wait. I'm answering. Let me answer. Stop.
Vulnerable communities?
Not everybody wants to hear the sound of your voice, sir. Give me a second, and I will tell you my answer. It's not funny. Patsy.
What? That's not an answer. You insufferable wench. What is that? What is that? So he's asking, I guarantee you, James Rosen was asking a completely legitimate question, and she treated him with condescension and derision. Again, I'm assuming that's James Rosen. It sounded like his voice. He's a very talented reporter. And she treated him like garbage. These guys cannot leave soon enough, huh? It's like crazy to listen to. Oh, man. All right. Let me see here. I've got audio. She mentioned Biden today. Biden, what a ridiculous human being. Biden today was apparently, he was referring to black jobs today on his own. Now, remember, it was just a couple weeks ago. He was mad that President Trump was talking about black Americans who've been, suffering under the Biden-Harris administration. And President Trump used the phrase black jobs to describe all of this. And he was attacked by Joe Biden as if he was being racist or something. This is Biden speaking at the NAACP event a couple weeks ago.
Of course, here's what he thinks of black jobs. I love his phrase, black jobs. It tells a lot about the man and about his character.
Oh, okay, so it's a commentary on his character. He used the phrase black jobs. Here is Joe Biden earlier today.
In just 3.5 years, we created over 2 million new black jobs for black Americans and black... And
then people start laughing at him. They were laughing at him at this event for saying that. So there he is. And just in case you're wondering, his brain is, as Chris Plant says, she's a broke. She's a broke. All right, Tammy is calling in from Route 7 right now on line 1. Hello, Tammy. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hi, Vince. I absolutely love your show, and I love driving home every day listening to you.
Well, God bless you for that. Thank you.
Yes, I do miss you in the mornings, but I will take you in the afternoons.
Oh man, no, we've got a great lineup here.
Yeah, it's all good. So I was thinking about this very hard the other day, and I was like, okay, we need to figure out how to get another debate. So my question to you is, who at WMAL could make another debate happen, and you and Larry are the moderators?
Another debate, you mean between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden?
Oh, yeah. No, Trump and what's
I'm sorry. My goodness. Yeah. I'm so lost. Biden screwed me up. Just listening to him speak screwed me up. I'm sorry. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
I get a little dumber.
So you're suggesting that what we should do is figure out a way to call in every favor we possibly can. And Larry O'Connor and Vince Coglianese moderate a debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Now, I
think we need to figure out how to make that happen.
I love the concept. We'd have to trick her into doing it or something. We'd have to tell her it was like a Venn diagram convention, and then as soon as she gets in the door, just like close it, and you're in. You're on a debate stage now.
Right.
I don't know how we would manage to do that, but I will say that my hope, my sincere hope is that I do get another chance to talk to President Trump at least. I think Kamala Harris would be deeply reticent.
He's a wonderful human being. I actually met him at Trump National. My husband and I were golfing there one day with a friend who's a member, and he was so awesome. Like, he took pictures with us and chatted with us, and like...
Really?
It was, oh yeah, he was awesome. It was so cool. It was him and Lindsey Graham and Tommy Tuberville. And we had it was awesome.
That is unreal. So where were you? Were you on the course or in the clubhouse?
Yeah, no, we were just going out to hit the little putting green is right there by the first tee, right? And so we were getting ready, and like I see all these really well dressed, good looking guys driving golf carts all over the place, and I'm like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, I see this golf cart with this very large man wearing a red cap, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And so our friend that's a member out there, I was like, I have to go follow him. And so he was like, go, whatever. And so he was in the clubhouse talking to Lindsey Graham and Tommy Tuberville, and I walked back into the clubhouse, and he was talking, and I was kind of standing there, and I didn't want to interrupt him, and then he kind of stopped talking, and I said, excuse me, Mr. President, which, by the way, never thought I would say in my entire life. I was like, excuse me, Mr. President, and he turned around, and he goes, yeah, and I go, can I shake your hand? And he goes, absolutely, and and he was like, what's your name? What's going on? How's your day? And I said, well, we're just going to go. And I said, can we get a picture? And he was like, absolutely. We took a selfie. And then somebody else took another one with me and my husband. And oh my gosh, it was like the most awesomest thing that has ever happened.
That's
cool. So cool.
And so he was pretty generous with his time. And you said Senator Tuberville and Senator Graham were also there alongside him?
Yeah, they were all cool. We chatted with them, and it was really, really like a moment that I will never forget.
That's awesome. So cool. Yeah, I've seen that play out a couple of times. I've had the good fortune of meeting him a few times. And my goal is to the root of your question, Tammy. I'd like to have the president back on with us ahead of the election because he is making a play for Virginia. His intense hope is to add Virginia to the win column this cycle. And one of the benefits he's gotten on that front is RFK was able to successfully pull his name off the ballot at the last minute in the Commonwealth, which is very good news. And in fact, in Virginia, early voting starts next week for the general election. It starts on Friday next week.
So early, so
on
early.
The 20th.
We actually moved out of Northern Virginia. Kind of gave the middle finger and said, no, we're out of here, and we moved over to Charlestown, West Virginia. So we don't get early voting until like the 15th of October or something like that. But
Got it. Well, good for you.
Yeah, awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
well,
awesome. Thank you. Thanks
you,
for taking
Tammy.
my call, Vince, and have a great day.
You too. I really appreciate that call. That's Tammy.
All right.
There's Tammy on Route 7 calling in. She had got to meet the President of the United States. Very, very neat. Boy, I'd love to moderate a debate between these guys. I think I made a decision a while ago, though, that I'd rather give my opinion a lot more. I love fact gathering, and I'm happy to moderate a debate, but typically that's going to be between Republicans. I'd be very open-minded. If they want to find some lefty who wants to do it with me, I'd be game for that. I would definitely be game for that. I think the goal should be to try and suss as much important information out of the people who want to run things as possible, and that'd be good. But just another chance to interview President Trump would be good too. Let me see here. I've got so many things. Oh, President Trump. Earlier this week at the debate, he was talking at some length about how he had arranged a deal with the Taliban in terms of the Afghanistan withdrawal. He's like, look, the Taliban are running Afghanistan, so let's stop playing around. It's not like the government in Afghanistan was running the show. The Taliban were. And President Trump just says, okay, let's just do direct negotiations with them. They're the power brokers here, so let's just figure this out. And the president's proud of his record in the closing months, but he says, look, the way the Biden people got out, it's a complete disaster because the Taliban didn't live up to their end of the bargain. And yet Biden barreled ahead anyway and got out of Afghanistan in the most incompetent, deadly, and destructive way you could possibly imagine. Well, the media's reaction to President Trump talking about having really throttled somebody called Abdul with the Taliban, one of the top officials there, the media's reaction has been to say that Abdul doesn't exist, never existed, and that Trump completely made it up. Completely made it up. Another left-wing hoax being spread this week. I'll share the audio with you here in a moment, showing you that it wasn't that long ago that they said Abdul is totally real. Now they say he's a figment of Trump's imagination. Hold on. It's 5:19. WMAL traffic and weather.
WMAL, making sense of world events, because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
All right, President Trump earlier this week in his debate against Kamala Harris mentioned that he negotiated a deal with somebody called Abdul and the Taliban. Maze Moore, who's really good at this on X, he pulled some of the audio of the way the media used to talk about Abdul back in 2021. Here's what they said at the time.
The man who now leads the Taliban in Afghanistan, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar.
Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, co-founder of the Taliban.
I could hear in Mullah Baradar's voice that he knew President Trump meant business.
CBS News has confirmed that CIA Director William Burns met secretly in Kabul with the Taliban's de facto leader Abdul Ghani Baradar.
We have learned that CIA Director William Burns traveled to Kabul for a secret meeting with Taliban leader Abdul Ghani Baradar.
A Taliban co-founder, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, who oversaw the signing of the U.S. withdrawal agreement last year.
All right, so now we move to this week, beginning with Joy Reid talking about this. And she says no such persons ever existed.
This is the part where Donald Trump invented someone. He invented a person who doesn't exist in addition to the people he says are eating dogs. There's another person who doesn't exist. His name is Abdul.
And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems.
Maybe the reason that VP Harris is looking at him that way is one that she's probably thinking maybe he should go back to the old folks home and have a bowl of Jell-O. Or she might also thinking to herself, no. The head of the Taliban's name is not Abdul. It is Hibatullah Akhundzada. So maybe he couldn't remember that. I had to write it down to know it. Your thoughts on his response in making up Abdul as a person that isn't real?
No one can really confirm who this Taliban person named Abdul is, who he said he'd talk to.
It's the bizarrest bit in the whole debate where he describes the leader of the Taliban as a guy called Abdul. It's it's a completely non-existent person.
Are you hearing all of this? This is media fact checking now. They are literally erasing people from history in order to satisfy their political goals. Abdul, no such persons ever exist. Congressman Wesley Hunt told a great story though about President Trump sending a very clear message to Abdul. Take a listen to this.
When we were negotiating with the Taliban, while President Trump was still the president, President Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan, but he wanted a conditions-based withdrawal, meaning that you do what we tell you to do, and then we will start pulling troops back slowly as long as you abide by our rules. It's President Trump and Mike Pompeo, and they are talking to Taliban leadership in the room, and they had one translator in the room. President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to kill you. And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him.
Yes.
Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
That's one way to send a message. The media says that never happened. Abdul doesn't exist. Donald Trump made it up. Just in case you were wondering at this late date, who's lying to you? I think we know the answer. Coming up, John Lott cuts through more of the media's lies as ABC lies about crime in the country. John Lott has the details ahead.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news. Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
Vince Calanese.
And all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
Excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
The President Trump, David Muir debating at what was supposed to be a debate between President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris. Joining us now to go through the actual crime data is the guy who follows it for a living. John Lott is here. He is with the Crime Prevention Research Center, the president there, and the author of Gun Control Myths. John, good to have you back with us, sir.
Oh, thanks very much for having me on.
So I saw that moment play out this week, and I first of all instantly thought of you because I was like, well, you've navigated through this. Tell me, who was right between President Trump and David Muir?
It wasn't even close. I mean, Trump was exactly right on these things. And, you know, it's amazing to me. This week we have the updated national crime victimization data from the Bureau of Justice Statistics was released yesterday. No stories in the New York Times, no stories in the Washington Post, no stories on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, you know, you could go on. You would think with all the focus on crime, when they have the results, the final results for 2023 coming out, you'd think people would go and look at those things. You'd think it would be something of a news story, at least mention it in passing.
Right.
And yet it was releasing this data that has been, I hope widely anticipated, was just completely ignored.
I do want to talk about that data. I want to go in depth with you on that. But you're right. They don't cover things. They cover them up. But first on this point that President Trump made, that the FBI didn't have data from America's largest cities about the commissioning of crimes. Why is that? Why weren't, and just give us the basics of that. What was happening there?
Well, they changed the reporting requirements in 2021. So if you look to 2020, 97% of police departments were reporting their crime data to the FBI. 10% of them only partially reported the data. By 2022, fewer than half of the police departments in the country were reporting complete crime data to the FBI. 31%, many of them large cities, as you're saying, so if you look, weren't reporting it at all. So if you look at the 5 largest cities in the United States, 3 of the 5, New York, Los Angeles, and Phoenix, weren't reporting any crime data to the FBI. And, and another 24% of police departments were only partially reporting crime data. So, it's really unprecedented, the drop that we've had in the reporting rate across the cities. And as he says, many of these are very high crime areas that weren't reporting it.
So when the ABC guy says, well, crime is down, that according to the FBI, that data set is missing the 5 biggest cities in the country.
It's missing 3 of the 5 biggest cities.
3 of the 5. Okay. All right. So now let's go to the data that was released yesterday that the legacy media is refusing to cover, because my suspicion is that it reflects poorly on Biden and Harris. What can you tell us?
Well, they're pretty startling numbers. I mean, it continued being high compared to what it was before. But if you look at the change in 2023 from what the numbers were in 2020, if you add together rape, robbery, and aggravated assault, they don't cover murder for the Bureau of Justice Statistics data. There was a 55% increase in violent crime that was occurring. Rape went up by 42%, robberies were up by 63%, and aggravated assaults were up by 55%. Over the Trump administration, by contrast, violent crime had fallen by 15%. So, I mean, those are very stark differences that are there.
During the Trump administration, violent crime had fallen.
Correct.
Okay, but they're up dramatically now under Biden. So this is as you're describing it, this is the mirror opposite of what the media is telling us about the crime situation in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't be more stark. And it's hard to get into people's minds, but the Democrats are pretty explicit. They want to go and claim that things are great under the Democrats, and so they don't want people to believe that crime's up. And also, many times explicitly, members of the Biden and Harris administration have said, well, look, we've had all these illegals coming in and crime is down, so we can't blame illegals for committing the crime.
Oh, my gosh.
But when you go and you look at these numbers, it's pretty clear what's going on. Look, you live in D.C. area. If you go to a CVS or Walgreens in D.C., everything's covered up by plexiglass that's there. If you want to go and buy something, you have to wait for a sales clerk to come over and unlock the plexiglass and stand next to you while you go and read the ingredients on the different packages to try to decide what you're going to get. Americans know that wasn't the case a few years ago. They know that that's changed dramatically, and it's not just true in D.C., but New York and Los Angeles and Chicago and San Francisco. These stores aren't doing this because they think it's fun to go and do it. It's obviously very costly for them to have, individual people wait on somebody when they're trying to decide what they're going to go and buy and unlock things and put up all the glass there.
Yep.
Customers don't like that. But it's not just property crime that we've seen those problems arise. It's been occurring for violent crime also.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of it. I mean, in Washington, D.C., you see the videos of thieves stealing goods from CVS and then walking across the street and setting up shop to sell the very items they just stole, literally across the street. And which is crazy. I was relaying on the air this week. I think it was Monday of this week. I was at Rodman's grocery store up there in Friendship Heights, where our studio is. And I witnessed a robbery in front of me. A guy was stealing liquor bottles, stuffing them into his backpack as employees were trying to chase him down. It is crazy. And so everyone's their senses are telling them things are bad, and their government is saying, no, they're not.
Right. No, you see headline after headline in the mainstream media that will say things like, crime is down, but people erroneously think that it's increasing. I can give you headlines from NPR or from, CNN or whatever out there that continually make that claim.
Yeah.
And my belief is that either they just don't understand the data there or it's purposeful, but they rely on the FBI data. And prior to 2020, the FBI data on crimes reported to police and the Bureau of Justice Statistics data on total crimes went up and down generally together. But since 2020, they've gone in opposite directions each year, often by very large amounts. So, in 2022, while you had the FBI claiming that there was a 2% drop in reported violent crime, the National Crime Victimization data showed a 42% increase. We don't have the final data out yet for the FBI. They'll be out soon. But my guess is when the final FBI data comes out, the news media will be all over that, and they will completely ignore the National Crime Victimization data that just came out yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So you were you've worked inside of the United States Department of Justice. You kind of had an eye on some of this stuff. In your experience, how political is the FBI's data dissemination program?
Well, at least when I was interacting with them on a few different things, I thought they were extremely political. They would make it so you couldn't get a hold of data. They would fight you tooth and nail, things that I think if I had been able to get a hold of the data, it would have kind of gone against some of the political narrative that they had there on things dealing with gun control issues.
Yes, like for instance, just to be crystal clear on that issue, you've talked before. They've concealed the extent to which good guys with guns actually stop a lot of violence in the country.
Right. Well, that's even another issue. I was just thinking about the background check errors that occur and how it overwhelms Black and Hispanic males. They don't want you to know that by ratios of like 3 or so to 1, mistakes are made in background checks involving Black or Hispanic males compared to others that are trying to buy a gun. Law-abiding citizens who shouldn't be stopped. But, if you look at the active shooting reports, there are massive errors that they have in terms of missing things. And the ones that they miss are systematically cases that an attack was stopped by a law-abiding citizen. So if you look at the last 10 years of data, and this is something I started looking at when I was at the Department of Justice, I was asked to look at it. They claim that only 4% of the 300 active shooting cases that have occurred over the last 10 years were stopped by citizens legally armed, legally carrying a concealed handgun. Well, I think the right number is about 35%. And one argument that I hit, and nobody needs to take my word for it. We, on our website at crimeresearch.org, list out the cases as well as links to the underlying news stories that are there so people can check for themselves to make sure that they meet the FBI definition of what an active shooting case is. But even more than that, one of the arguments I had was I said, look, you're talking about law-abiding citizens stopping these attacks. You can't expect a law-abiding citizen to stop an attack where it's illegal for a law-abiding citizen to carry a gun. And so if you look at places, exclude gun-free zones that are there, actually over 50% of these active shooting cases were stopped by law-abiding citizens. And that's a long way from 4% that the FBI says. And even when I could get them to agree that they had missed a case, years later, they still haven't fixed it in the data set that's there. They still are leaving out these dramatic cases. And many of them are very dramatic cases that they've missed, things that police have said that would have been mass public shootings if they hadn't been for the presence of a concealed carry permit holder.
But Merrick Garland just told me earlier this week that we shouldn't assume the Justice Department is serving a political agenda.
Yeah, look, I mainly just dealt with the data people that are there. But the data people are true believers, I think. To be honest, I mean, I've been dealing with crime data for 40 years. When I worked in the Sentencing Commission in the 80s, if I found an error in the data, people would fix it. Now, if it goes against the narrative, you find an error and you point it out to them, they refuse to fix it. And things like hate crime data, I just don't believe a lot of the data that comes out of the Department of Justice these days.
I know. I'm skeptical of everything now because of everything we've learned about them, and including this. Every time I talk to you about this, it infuriates me because it's just the whole point is the government is supposed to provide clean and accurate data so you can make wise policy decisions based on that. And they're doing the opposite. They're trying to influence policy by giving you corrupted data.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it affects policy. It makes it so we don't do the things that we need to do in order to save lives that are there. They hide the ball. I mean, here, I look at law enforcement in this country, and it's collapsed. And by hiding the increase in crime, they're not making it so people will want to go and fix this as much as they can. Look, arrest rates for violent crimes in large cities over the last few years has fallen by over 50%. For reported violent crimes, the arrest rates for reported property crimes has fallen by 65%. You're talking about in 2022, in large cities, only 20% of reported violent crime result in arrest. Only 4% of reported property crime. And this, they want to go and use the FBI data. That's from the FBI data, okay? So, but they won't report on that. I mean, we've never seen in all the decades that we've had the FBI data for like 70 years, there's never been such incredibly low arrest rates for violent and property crime, reported violent and reported property crimes. Nothing even remotely close to this. And so, and if you adjust for the fact that we have a lot of unreported crime, only 8% of total violent crime in those large cities result in arrest, and only 1% of total property crime in those result in arrest. And of course, people know, I mean, we've had discussions about Soros prosecutors and stuff. A lot of people who are arrested aren't charged, let alone prosecuted or convicted. Yeah. And so, you talk about seeing people stealing from a CVS in D.C. What do they have to worry about? The chances that they're going to get punished are like way less than 1%. Right. Yeah, the odds are definitely in their favor. And by the way, in that robbery, the guy committed a hit and run right after it, jumped into a getaway car, slammed into another vehicle, and then drove off. And one would assume he has not been caught. Nobody. And based on the data, that assessment is correct. Thank you very much, as always, John Lott, for always digging into this and being a critical thinker. We need more of those. We need more John Lotts. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being there.
That's John Lott. It's 5:51 now.
WMAL, more than just politics, because laughter is the best medicine. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
All right, we have Sam calling in from Alexandria, Virginia, line 2. Hello, Sam. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate it so much, and what a beautiful Friday. And I love all your guests. I got to say that right at the get-go.
Smart people.
I think what frustrates me, absolutely, my gosh. What frustrates me the most is you hear this talent out there like John Lott and all these others that could actually, and that's what I'm looking forward to if President Trump wins and he brings Elon Musk in. if we could get that type of, that brain power and that initiative, we'll just talk about the reports, and be able to, instead of, having one monolithic look at it, that we bring talent in and say, let's look at the numbers. Let's see what the numbers say so we can focus our efforts correctly and move forward. And that's what I see as kind of obviously frustrating.
It's a huge deal. And it's a sign of how deep the rot is in the bureaucracy. When President Trump says he wants to come in and fire all sorts of government officials, it's not because he wants people who are loyal to him. He wants people who are loyal to the country. He wants people who are loyal to the truth. This is why we need to dig out all of the people who are distorting that picture, that image for the American people. And we get reminded of that with every conversation we have. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. Please have a great weekend. The great one, Mark Levin, up next here on WMAL.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Making sense of the news.